What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Totally Inspired with me, your girl Sibo Dube. Today, we are going to be talking about a very interesting subject matter, which I believe all of us have an interest in the subject matter of forgiveness. A lot of us have been offended, have been hurt, or have found ourselves in a situation where we have been betrayed. And a lot of times it's been very difficult to come to terms with the betrayal, especially if it comes from somebody close to you, or somebody that is a family member, or somebody that you felt could have been more loyal or could have done things differently because you had a certain trust in them, or you saw them in a certain way. That can really deeply hurt you, especially when it comes from the least expected of people. Well, in today's video, I hope we will be able to unpack the importance of forgiveness, and hopefully by the time the video is done, we will be better able or better equipped to handle situations that could potentially sit in our hearts as grudges, because a grudge is something that is not worth anybody's time or anybody's effort, because a grudge actually pulls you back. It pulls you down emotionally and spiritually. So maybe as a start, I would like us to read a verse in the Bible from the book of Genesis 51, verse 15, a very common Bible story that a lot of us are familiar with, and that is the story of Joseph. Listen to what the Bible says in this verse. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph bears a grudge against us and pays us back in full for all the wrong which we did to him?" So if you are familiar with the story, you'll know that Joseph did not hold a grudge against his brothers. Yes, it did hurt him so deeply what his brothers had done to him, because we see that when he sees them, when he sees his little brother Benjamin, he literally breaks into tears and he cries. Obviously, that crying was just him playing back memories of how he had been deeply hurt by his brothers and the evil that they had done to him. But we know that Joseph chose not to tie himself up in the shackles of holding a grudge, because he realized that there was a bigger mission and purpose in his life that God had for him. And I think when you start looking at your offenders with that eye to say, "I'll not be disrupted or distracted by this offense or this evil that has come away from these people, I look at the higher purpose that God has for me," you will be able to navigate the potential harm that a grudge can bring for you and the failure for you to be unforgiving. So it's important to look at the higher purpose and the higher calling that God has for you. That's one of the things that has really helped me as a person to handle situations that could potentially have deteriorated into situations where I find myself begrudging or bitter over certain issues, which I could have potentially felt it was legitimate for me to be unforgiving or to hold a grudge. I have looked at the higher purpose, looking at the higher purpose of what God has called me to do and the important assignments that I have, which are of a higher calling and of a higher standard than just dragging myself down. I know for a fact I have a higher calling, I have a higher purpose, and I will not allow disruptive things that could potentially lead me to become a person that is bitter and full of grudges. I will not allow that. I will not entertain that. And I will not entertain people who actually try and disrupt me from my higher calling by pulling me aside from my higher calling and purpose through those little offenses. So if you look at it that way, you'll be better able to move on from situations that could potentially find you bitter and in a situation where you are begrudged. Be careful not to find yourself holding on to those situations, because in most instances you will not get that apology that you're looking for, and it's okay. Be willing to own the ability to move on from a snare or a disruption that comes in the form of an offense. Quite often people don't say sorry when they are wrong. And sometimes they don't even think they're wrong. They don't see themselves as wrong. It is because of issues of pride that people fail to apologize for their wrongdoing. It is that same pride that God says he resists. God says in his word, "I resist the proud man, but he gives grace to those that are humble. So that pride that the Bible talks about is the same pride that actually stands in the way of people being able to apologize in the instance that they are wrong. But one thing that we need to be aware of is that an apology will not vindicate us. We must vindicate ourselves, because when you wait for an apology from somebody that has wronged you, you will wait for a lifetime. That apology will not come. But do yourself a favor and vindicate yourself by moving on from that offense, which could potentially hold you back from liberating yourself and giving yourself the freedom of letting go of grudges. Another thing that you must be wary of is that when you hold on to a grudge, the person that suffers the wrath of that anger, that frustration, that hatred is you, not the person that has offended you. You are the one that hosts those terrible feelings, those unbearable feelings of frustration and anger and bitterness, and not the person that has offended you. Liberate yourself from those feelings. Do not allow yourself to host those feelings and let them pulsate in your bloodstream, because that can lead to a lot of far-reaching consequences, and those consequences are not worth entertaining in your life. Vindicate yourself, liberate yourself, and let go of any slight indication of you being the host of a grudge through that wrath of anger. God has a way of equalizing things without you having to do anything. Continue to focus on the higher calling He has for you. If you look at your life that way, you will never find yourself being dragged down by small offenses. I call them small. Yes, it can be big, it can be hurtful, but compared to your purpose in life, compared to the calling you have, those are very small things. Don't let them consume you. Don't let them allow you to be the host of bitterness, to be the host of anger, frustration, and hatred. Don't allow yourself to be the host of a grudge. Finally, instead of sitting and waiting for an apology, keep yourself preoccupied with the things that you love to do. Keep yourself busy with that purpose that God has for you. Manage your expectations as well, because that apology is likely not to come. But with God on your side, and with focus on the purpose that you have and the calling that you have, in no time at all, those little offenses will be meaningless distractions that you can put under your feet. Your life and happiness should not depend on someone's apology. Your life and happiness depends on you. And you can get that happiness and that joy by continually connecting to God. And like Joseph, be able to focus on your higher calling and your purpose in life. That way, you will not be pulled down by grudges or petty little disruptions that come your way through people who've been planted by the devil to disrupt your focus, to distract you from the work that you have been set out to do by God. I hope this has helped somebody. Until next time, do keep inspiring, and remember, do share, like, comment, and subscribe.